folks, we decided to drop a very special bonus into the main feed this week. Our Barbie by Petrocapitalism episode was so fun to record in anticipation of Greta Gerwig's blockbuster hit. But then, of course, we simply had to talk about the film itself.
Thanks to all of you who wrote in with your questions. As always, you blew us away with your thoughtfulness and specificity. As you're about to hear, we had an absolute ball answering you. And Marcelle coined a term I will simply never forget.
Do you mean when I said the somnambulance of the kingdom?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Okay, well, you too can listen for it as you enjoy part one of a very long conversation between me and Hannah about Barbie, the movie.
Hello and welcome to a special Material Girls mini-sode, a version of our Patreon exclusive Which Please Tell Me episodes, only this time we're only answering your questions about Barbie, the Greta Gerwig film she co-wrote with Noah Baumbach. I'm Hannah McGregor.
I'm Marcelle Kosman.
And we're gonna take some questions. I sound like somebody's about to call in. Listeners?
Hello, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Sorry, I shouldn't fuck around because Coach specifically asked us to record for 40 minutes max. And we know that this is serious because max is in all caps. So.
Yeah, that's a serious max. Okay, so the first question is, Marcelle, did you like the Barbie movie?
I loved the Barbie movie. I've seen it twice now. I went once on a hot date with my good friend Todd, where somebody asked if we wanted a picture together, and I very intelligently and heteronormatively explained that we were not a couple. And then Todd had to remind me that friends were allowed to take pictures together. And then the second time was today when I took my beautiful child, who is currently knocking at the door.
Okay, so you took that cute kid to Barbie.
So I saw it a second time today. So it's fresh. It's real fresh.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, I loved it. I don't even know where to start. You tell me. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the film?
I really enjoyed it. First and foremost, I thought it was incredibly funny in a way I absolutely had not anticipated. Like, the joke density was much higher than I was expecting in this movie, and much more surprising, and the humor was more surprising and more subversive and more weird than I thought that it was going to be. Like, it didn't have a sort of mainstream comic humor. It had a really sort of quirky, campy kind of sense of humor that was like queerer than I expected. So that was sort of my first and foremost thing, was that I thought it was like beautifully campy and so funny. I love the design, but that's part of the beautiful campiness of it for me, is it's like
no CGI.
It feels like a profoundly femme Wes Anderson kind of vibe sometimes. And I thought it was at its strongest when it stayed in those realms, and at its weakest when it attempted to like turn to face the camera and make a feminist statement. Those moments actually made me feel awkward. Like, I felt kind of embarrassed for the movie in those scenes. I was like, oh, honey, oh, no, don't do this. But then it would do something like the fucking All Ken Dream Ballet.
Oh my God.
And I would be like, this movie's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, it's brilliant. And then there are these moments where it seems like it feels like it needs to do some kind of work that feels at odds with the rest of the film to me. And I think that's an interesting thing to dig down on. Like, what are the sort of levels at which the feminism of the film is attempting to operate, and like, where is it more and less successful or more and less interesting?
Yeah, I think that is so interesting. I have a theory for why the capital F, like overt feminism stuff, is kind of uncomfortable and maybe unsatisfying. And my theory is that that's part of the satire, that it is a film that satirizes on multiple levels. And so,
it's really interesting.
So like as a mainstream film, you can watch it and think like, this is satirizing real life and the patriarchy, but it's also satirizing like mainstream feminism and like the type of feminism that has allowed the Barbie movie to even exist as a film.
Yeah, so the way that like what America Ferrera does the speech, and then everybody's like, wow, that single impassioned speech totally deprogrammed me. Now let's kidnap women one at a time, give them a single impassioned speech about feminism. They will be immediately deprogrammed by our effective rhetoric, and we can take back control. You're right. That is.
It's so smart. It's so smart.
I mean, the other thing, and I think this will come up a lot in the questions, the other thing we've got to talk about is the fact that Mattel funded this movie. I kind of want to like put that to the side for the moment, because I think we're going to talk about it a lot in the questions and spend more time with it sort of like aesthetics as a work of art. One of my favorite things that it was doing was producing a sort of camp heterosexual masculinity through like a very deliberate evoking of these like visual tropes that managed to be both like firmly rooted in heterosexual masculinity while also being so fucking gay.
Totally.
Right? Like the fur coat with no shirt under, and the horses, the fact that in the background of every scene with the Kens, there is just a huge fucking screen with horses running on it, like so gay, and so like just perfectly for me walking the line of like pointing out how profoundly queer and campy masculinity is.
Oh my God, totally. Okay. I have so many things that I want to say.
It's overwhelming.
Can I just like read you my screed?
Yes, I want your screed.
Okay. So getting back to satire, okay? Barbie Land feels good for the Barbies because it functions in the same way that patriarchal capitalism functions, except that Barbies are the ones with the hegemonic power. And this makes sense because Barbie is a product of patriarchal capitalism. So her entire universe exists to make money, right? Like as products. So like she has many jobs because that way you can buy many Barbies. She has many cars, so you can buy many cars. She has many homes, friends, etc. All of these things. Outfits. These all exist to make money for Mattel. The Kens do not have rich interior lives or clear senses of self, but neither do most of the Barbies. Like if we put pressure on it, they also do not have like strong senses of self beyond their roles. And the movie kind of suggests that this is because Barbie's sense of self depends on who's playing with her, right? And so then the kids who are playing with the Barbies, they also live under patriarchal capitalism. So the rich interiority of Barbie Land is only ever going to be surface level, okay? So, for example, stereotypical Barbie, our hero of the film, she doesn't even have the self-awareness to tell Ken that she doesn't love him, right? It doesn't occur to her that she should.
Because that's a level of interiority that she does not have. Like, The moment she articulates an interiorized existential thought is the moment we become aware she's broken.
Totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
And even though the version of Barbie Land that we are presented with is, I would say, capital D diverse, all of the Barbies are horrified by her physical transformations, right? So even the diversity, multiculturalism, etc. of Barbie Land is only what's allowed under patriarchal capitalism. And I would argue cis-het white supremacist patriarchal capitalism, right? So the introduction of patriarchy to Barbie Land only provides surface level changes to their society. It doesn't fundamentally reorganize the social stratification of men and women. It just kind of treats every night like boys' night. Right? And so,
because before every night was girls' night.
Exactly. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, it's boys' night for a long weekend. That's kind of like, that's sort of it. And so this I think is why the Barbies can be saved from what I would like to call the somnolence of the Kendom, because their society's barely been altered.
If I didn't already love you with my entire heart, the phrase somnolence of the Kendom would have really sealed the deal.
Oh, thank you, Hannah.
I can't. Listening to you articulate that phrase in those fucking pink mesh half gloves this is the future liberals want. A liberal, wants.
So, final thing I want to say, and then it's all just going to be, whatever comes out. The Kens are no more able to articulate their desires and wants under the patriarchy than they were under, if you will, the Barbiearchy, because patriarchy is bad for men. And so it doesn't make them any happier. Our lead Ken doesn't get what he wants. What he wants is Barbie's affection, but that's because that's what he thinks he wants. That's what he's supposed to want. He doesn't know himself. Patriarchy's bad for men. The Barbiearchy is bad for everybody. Patriarchy's bad for everybody. And because
the Barbiearchy is
patriarchy, except that the Barbies are the hegemonic power.
Yeah, it's just reversed patriarchy, which is what white feminism often is, which is why it's not real feminism, because actual feminism is a fundamental transformation to the social order.
Exactly.
Not a reversing of who's in power.
That's right. And so that's why I think this movie is so deeply subversive on multiple levels, even though Mattel funded it and is one of the producers, even though it's a mainstream movie, even though in the theater people were laughing at the jokes. People were laughing, like, not at weird, awkward times. They were laughing at the right times, but only at, one level of, I don't know.
I mean, this is where it gets tricky, right? As soon as we start to say, like, okay, it's profoundly subversive, for whom? Because if it's subversion hidden under a layer of a movie that people can just sort of get on board with and laugh at all the right times, then where happeneth the subversion? And how subversive is it ever to make a Barbie movie funded by Mattel?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, there's this like part of what I find really evocative about thinking about this movie is the fact that you and I had a conversation with the campers at camp about whether or not the camp aesthetic is possible in the 21st century under late capitalism, when we can't think about objects exclusively in terms of their surfaces, because we are profoundly locked within an awareness of how things are made, where they are coming from, the ways in which we are destroying the planet with these things, right? That, like, surfaces and taking ironic pleasure in the mass produced really hits different in 2023. And this is like so many aspects of this felt like camp, like ironic pleasure in the mass produced, a play of surfaces, a complex series of mirrors reflecting back and forth between satire and non-satire in a way that like the whole point is the play of signification where you like can never quite land. And that's about the pleasure of surfaces. Like it's so camp, but like, what do we do with camp when the ocean is choked with plastic?
My theory is that movies can't fix things.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there are so many pleasurable things about this film, and it is not a tool to correct anything. It's just a movie. Remember when the Lady Ghostbusters came out and people were like really, myself included, like, you know, kind of bothered that it still fell into some like pretty tired tropes, including like all of the main characters or all of the educated characters are white and then our working class characters black, for example. And like it feels unfair that movies marketed towards women need to be so much more perfect in order to be capital G good than movies marketed to men. And so undeniably. And so I feel like this movie is such a solid example of like, there's no shortage of levels. And at the end of the day, it's still a piece of entertainment that is paid for by Mattel.
So here's the thing about that is I was reading Hope Rehack's newsletter. Subscribe now. I think it's called Things Hope is Obsessed with.
I think that's
that. Does that sound right?
That sounds or things I'm obsessed with. Hope's current obsessions.
Maybe. Hope's current obsessions.
I'm not sure.
Listen, Hope. Coach put it in the show notes. But she had included a link in there to Anne Helen Peterson's piece about Barbie and Oppenheimer and the mass cultural event. And her basic point was like, there is an ongoing power in what constitutes the mass cultural event because we have so little monoculture left that when we think of like what's something that's for everybody, that then becomes one of our very few shared texts and shared cultural events. When we think about what's made as though it's for everybody, it's actually made, and this is Peterson's argument, it's actually made for teenage boys.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like she explains that it's this like 4-quadrant thinking that's like men won't watch things targeted towards women, but women will watch things targeted towards men. And teenagers won't watch things targeted towards adults, but adults may watch things targeted towards teenagers.
Okay.
So to hit the largest possible Venn diagram of viewers, you just target everything towards male teenagers, which is why every movie is a Marvel movie now.
Gotcha. That makes...
Because that's who you target everything at. And she was like, there's really something to be said for a movie that is so solidly fucking targeted at women to be a mass cultural event in the way that this one is.
Definitely.
And part of the point there is that mass cultural events, like shared texts, are a thing we collectively use to work through ideas and solve problems as people. Like it's not the text's job to fix things. It's a thing that we use to think with.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's our job to actually do the things. And so the things that we've had as a shared text to think with lately have been fucking Marvel movies over and over and over again. And right now we've got this incredible mass event that claimed its status as a mass event from the beginning.
Totally.
Like, I think that's part of what have made people be like, ooh, Barbie versus Oppenheimer. It's like the daringness of this girl movie to position itself as on equal footing to Christopher Nolan. Like, how fucking dare you? This is a serious movie.
I gotta tell you, I have seen Oppenheimer come up so much in my newsfeed in connection to
You
Barbie.
don't know what it is?
I have only learned what it is in seeing people's critiques of the movie. And I just think that is so funny. And it does not speak to my worldliness in the least. It speaks entirely to my, what's it called when you speak into the void? The thing that Gabby said wrong.
Your echo chamber.
My echo chamber. Yeah. I just live in my own echo chamber. Sick burn. Gabby. Anyway, yeah. We love Gabby.
Simply can't get enough.
But like the second Ryan Gosling was cast, Barbie showed up in my newsfeed because I am a basic bitch at my core. And they were like, you know who we need to cast in order to get the basic bitches? This guy.
It's so funny to me because I don't think of him as the man of basic bitches, but like I guess The Notebook really established him in that role.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think Ryan Gosling's kind of a little weird looking, like a Chris.
He's not a Chris. That's true.
He's not a Chris, like he's not a generic white hunk. He's not a Marvel, like he wouldn't play Captain America. Like it just feels kind of campy when he does it. Whereas if Chris Pratt had done it, there would have been nothing campy about it, right? It would have been like just so profoundly heterosexual. So like Ryan Gosling for me is like not the basic choice for Ken.
Okay.
It's an interesting choice. Whereas Margot Robbie is a basic fucking choice for Barbie.
Definitely. And the movie points that out, which I definitely enjoyed. No, you don't think so?
That was another moment where I was kind of like, do we need to? What happened to that narrator? She was there for almost none. The narrator,
Helen Mirren,
felt like studio notes to me.
Definitely. Yeah.
The narrator was giving studio notes. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like that is one point on which I'm like, well, that's what they're trying to do with stereotype Barbie, but like the actual like breaking the fourth wall to be like, we get it, Margot Robbie is hot. I felt a little ham-fisted to me.
I thought it was so funny. I lolled. I lolled, Hannah.
You know what? I probably lulled as well. Okay, here's a great question from Funny Feminist Philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
Did Gerwig just make a 2-hour-long ironic commercial for Barbie?
I cannot speak for the author. That is my whole thing. Not interested, nor will I speak for the auteur. But
the auteur is as dead as the author.
Indeed. I have this imaginary conversation in my head where Gerwig is like, oh, you want me to make a movie for you about Barbie? And it's basically just an ad? Okay, sure. I'll do that. Give me your money. That's my, yeah. So kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Because why not? I think of this movie as being genre defining because, which is, I know, maybe a bold statement for someone who doesn't have a film degree, but I just feel like we're just at such a weird point in our society, in our place in capitalism. We're all so aware of capitalism. Like, it's not weird to bring up capitalism. Like, people don't roll their eye. Maybe they do. I don't know. But in my echo chamber, nobody rolls their eyes when somebody brings up capitalism. And so it feels sort of like this is the step beyond there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. It's also there's no ethical production under capitalism. So give us your money.
Well put.
We're going to fucking do it.
Marcelle, you are fucking on one tonight.
Oh, thank you, Hannah. That's so nice of you to say. Oh, my God.
You're on fire.
Oh, jeez. Thank you. Now I'm embarrassed. I'm going to stop talking. Hey, Hannah, what scene or moment made you laugh out loud the most?
Okay. I'm trying to Google it because I can't remember if I have the word right. But when Ken asks Barbie on a date and Barbie says yes, and he gets really excited and excuses himself for a moment and goes back into the Casa
Mojo Dojo Casa house.
Thank
And he
you.
shouts, "Sublime."
Sublime. Sublime.
Mm-hmm.
That like broke me. Like I think I cried a bit when he yelled sublime.
So funny.
What about you?
I don't know what it was the first time. I can't remember. I just spent so much of that movie just being delighted, like laugh out loud, delighted by everything. But when I watched it today, it was when Andrew Dinkins or whoever he is, the Mattel, the like lower level Mattel employee. So Barbie is there in the boardroom and she's trying to find a woman employee or a woman, like an important woman head of something. And he looks up at Will Ferrell. He's like, "I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman?" And I laughed so hard. And Elliot was like, "What? What's funny?" And I was like, "I can't. You'll understand when you're older, sweetie."
A scene where Barbie tells the cat collars that she doesn't have any genitals.
And then he says he has all of them.
All the genitals.
It's so, oh my God. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Really fucking good. Man, the fact that Weird Barbie is always doing the splits.
Oh, totally. And that when like America Ferrera is like, "I had a weird Barbie." And Weird Barbie's like, "Yeah, you did." There's so much queer subtext in this movie.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Oh.
Well, you know what? That's a question that I think that Coach had. One sec. I've copied these questions over in truly the most chaotic way. This is a question from Coach. Why wasn't it gayer?
Because of the patriarchy.
So speaking of movies as mass cultural events, there are still a bunch of countries globally where if you put any visible queer content, it will get cut out. And so when you are thinking about making a feminist film for a global audience or a queer film for a global audience, you've got to use a vocabulary of politics that won't get censored.
Totally.
Which is, an interesting artistic challenge. But when I think about, like, as a work of queer cinema, for example, like, there's no way queer kids around the world are not rallying around this movie. It's unbelievably queer in its aesthetic and its sensibility, which, as a reminder, camp is a sensibility. And that allows it to become a touch point for queer youth, potentially in countries where they couldn't see it if it had boys kissing.
Totally. That makes so much sense. It makes me think of the fact that Beyonce's song Blow from her self-titled album, Beyonce, does not have an explicit rating, even though it is explicitly about cunnilingus. The entire song is about, like, I can't wait for you to get home and tear that cherry out.
Yeah, but if you don't use the word.
Exactly. It is impossible to miss.
Yeah.
Except, I guess, by the censors, because
they're looking for specific language. They're not interpreting.
It's probably AI. Let's be real.
It's always a really effective tactic when you're trying to spread a subversive message in a hostile environment to hide it under a layer of interpretation. Because it requires, like, interpretation is like the key code that you use, that you crack to get the secret message.
Yeah.
That's why close reading matters.
Can you imagine listening to the song Blow and not knowing that it's about eating pussy? Like, I can't.
Oh my God.
I can't.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. The other thing that made me cry, cry, like cry and laugh until I cried. The use of the Matchbox 20 soundtrack.
Oh my God. It was
Jesus
so
Christ.
funny.
Perfect.
It was perfect.
Perfect.
I know. I loved it.
Thanks for tuning in to this special Material Girls bonus episode. We're hoping to do more mini episodes like this, so stay tuned.
Next week, we'll release a brand new episode of Material Girls, a full-length one. But until then, why not head over to Patreon and consider supporting us for as little as, $5 a month US, $5 USD. It's like $7 Canadian. You'll get access to the second half of this conversation and so many other perks. Hannah, do you have a favorite perk?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite perk is for sure, which please tell me, which we may or may not be renaming Material Concerns. What's your favorite?
My favorite perk is definitely the bloopers, because I forget how, frankly, funny we are until I get to listen to them again, just strung together. Oh, it's art.
Yeah, great point. We're very funny. Go to Patreon and find out for yourself.